Hey everybody, welcome to the Mark Parham podcast. You can follow me online by just going to X, formerly known as Twitter, and just type in Mark Parham _ and then also you can subscribe to me on YouTube. Just type in Mark Parham and I should pop up. So I'm seeing that podcasts are becoming more popular, audio, video, everybody's doing a podcast now. And the question I have for you is, why did you start a podcast? Like, did you start a podcast because you wanted to, share information with people? Because did you start a podcast because, you just like the format? You just like, talking about different topics? Why did you decide to start a podcast this year? And I don't just want to talk about that, but also I want to, just ask people, what are some of your favorite podcasts? Like, are you a person that, do you listen to Joe Rogan a lot? Do you listen to, Lex Fridman? Like, who are your favorite podcasters? Just let me know in the comment section. But anyway, I want to talk about, this election and, podcast, and I sort of want to combine the two. But if you look at Donald Trump winning this election, he wouldn't have won without, I think he would have won, because the American people are on his side. But what really helped him out was going on these podcasts. If you think about it, he was actually able to talk. He was actually able to express himself versus going on ABC or NBC where they're trying to ask you all these gotcha questions and the person sitting there trying to be angry and, twist your words and all this other stuff. And I think going forward, more politicians are going to, go on a whole, just list of podcasts. Like, I think you're going to have politicians say, you know what, forget ABC News, forget NBC, forget CNN. I'm just going to go to my favorite podcasters or podcasters that, let's just say, are popular and, get my point across. And I like the format so much better. Like Donald Trump being on Joe Rogan and being able to talk for, over an hour or two, that helps so much because you actually, get to see the human side of somebody. You actually get to see how somebody really feels about a topic. And I think it's going to be the future for a lot of politicians to go on these podcasts. And it's a long format podcast. You're able to really, get a lot of important information because sometimes CNN and all of these different news organizations, they're trying to, ask you questions to trip you up versus saying, okay, well, how are you going to improve America? Or what are you going to do with this? And sitting back and letting people talk. That's another thing. I like how with some of these podcasts that it's a simple conversation and they sit back, the podcast host, and they're letting people talk and express themselves. And it's unedited. It's not something where, they're chopping it up on CNN to say, oh, well, this is the controversial part that, we're going to put on air. Because I think, Kamala Harris, they found out that some of the interviews and stuff she was having on, one of these television shows or programs, that they were sitting up and editing stuff and things like that. And I think people sitting across from a podcast host and having an unedited interview it's amazing. And I think that podcasts are definitely going to be the future. I think to get elected in the future, you're going to have to sit down with a podcast host and discuss your plans. And a lot of people prefer it. And the cool thing about it is you can watch it on video, or if you're a person, you're driving around your car, you can listen to it on Spotify. So it's a really flexible, way of getting out information. And I think so many people are going to benefit from seeing politicians say, you know what, I'm going to go on a podcast and just talk for 3 or 4 hours. And because a lot of times, it's just like so many different hidden agendas with mainstream media. And that's a sad part. And I think that's one of the reasons why CNN and some of the MSNBC, that's why the ratings have gone down. Because instead of just reporting the news or instead of letting people speak, there's all these hidden agendas like, well, you know what? Let me try to ask a gotcha question so I can, get him off his toes and to say something he normally wouldn't say, and I think people are tired of that. I think people now just want to hear, what are you going to do for the American people? How are you going to improve their lives? What are your policies? And you're going to see a future where mainstream, media companies are going to keep losing viewers, and the ratings are going to keep on, going down the toilet. And, you get more real news and facts. People don't want to admit this from some of these, podcasters and people on social media platforms than you do from folks like Anderson Cooper on CNN. And so I'm looking at the shift. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see how, what people do in 2028 with podcasts. I'm very excited to see how people are going to innovate and change things up. You're going to have more podcasts that are, people are going to do interesting things with video. People are going to combine different things. And so the future is of podcasting is going to be we're going to enter an amazing era of just podcasting. And you're going to have just some amazing podcasters that are creating. And, I'm just very excited for what's going on. It almost reminds me of, vlogging. I remember vlogging when it was like 2010. And you had different people, they were creating stuff and using drones to get, angles of different things. And it almost reminds me of that era where you're going to see a lot of new innovations with podcasting. You're going to see a lot of companies invest in podcasting and podcasters. I mean, look at the contracts some of these podcasters are getting. So now it's not something where it's just like some guy with a little setup who's just, talking to 10 people. I mean, now, people are actually podcasting from locations, and, a lot of people are doing interesting things. And so I think if to get elected in the future, this is going to be something that you have to do. Like, people are going to say, well, why haven't you sat down for 3 hours to talk to this person or that person? Like, I think this is almost going to become a requirement. And I'm happy because you saw Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, when people sat down with Kamala Harris and it was unedited, Kamala Harris couldn't answer questions. Kamala Harris was uninteresting. She didn't, really know too much about politics. It was just somebody who was just using a lot of word salad and blabbering. And that's why would she go on Club Shay Shay? You saw how, people were saying, wait, this is horrible. Like, when anybody who's seen that interview says, this isn't the right person. And if you contrast that with somebody like Joe Rogan and Donald Trump, you said, wait a minute, this is somebody I can, vote for. And so the long format podcasts are going to be exposing a lot of politicians, a lot of people in power, and it's really going to change politics as we know it. And I think I can't wait till the future when maybe, people who are doing podcasts get invited to the White House to, maybe set their equipment up and to do a podcast from the Oval Office and put it on YouTube or something like that. Like, I can't wait till more podcasters get access to, the White House and Capitol Hill and things like that. Like, could you imagine a video podcast from the Oval Office? Or could you imagine a video podcast from the Federal Reserve where they're talking to people in the Federal Reserve and finding out how things work and stuff like that? Like, could you imagine a video podcast of people being able to see behind the scenes and know, the different people and see certain faces of some of these people in power? Like, I think it would be eye-opening. I think it would be amazing. I think people would learn a lot. And, I think, it's going to be an amazing, few years or decades or whatever of just podcasts becoming more and more dominant in media. So, and podcasters too. I mean, look at how some of these podcasters are celebrities. Look at Joe Rogan. So again, let me know how you feel about this topic. And then also, why did you decide to start a podcast this year? And like I said, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me on X, like I said, at @MarkParham_. And just let me know how you feel on this topic. Thank you.